Before we start the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button so that you can receive everything new. Let's get into today's movie. It's not just one movie, it's a duo of very, very heavy movies. Focus with me, my friend, because her dialogue is really great. The movie begins, and we know that 6 years ago, people discovered there is a possibility that there is life for strange creatures within our solar system, and therefore people sent some spacecraft to collect samples from space and investigate this theory. But the problem is that the spacecraft is returning to Earth. It exploded as soon as it entered the ground, and the debris from these vehicles fell near Mexico. After a while, the creatures, my friend, whose people thought they were actually outside, came out with the wreckage and then began to fill the place, every part of the world. And thus this made the government start imposing a quarantine everywhere. To this day, the American and Mexican governments are struggling to control the creatures that have descended to Earth as fruits and nothing more, sir. After we know everything, we are currently going to Mexico, and we see a car of soldiers going somewhere, and they are walking now, and they are attacked by a very huge creature. So they prefer they hit Einar with their weapons. But he is not affected and keeps screaming loudly and also attacks them. The soldiers talk to their friends so that they save them, and this is what actually happens. There are soldiers who come in their plane, sacrifice themselves, and crash this plane into this giant creature, and they were both destroyed. The next day, the rescue team, Al-Siddiqui, arrive now at the accident, and they have a journalist named Andrew with them, and he asks them about the injured. So one of the rescue teams knew that they had been transferred to the hospital in the city, and then they find out the address of this hospital. Vandro takes some and rides behind a person on a motorcycle, and they both move towards the hospital. The lesson here is that they are walking. My friend, the road was completely blocked because of the army, which spread everywhere because of his last incident yesterday and in general. Hendro, he actually arrives at the hospital, but when he enters, he now asks the receptionist about the civilians who were in the hotel where the accident happened. He was next to her yesterday and asked her specifically about a girl who was injured yesterday in this accident. Her name is Sam, so she is an employee, and described her room to him as Vandro. He thanked her and went to this room. He entered Sam and told her that his name was Andrew and that he was a journalist and worked in her father's company. And he also told her that he came specifically at her father's request to check on her. America returns her to her heavens, reassuring her and reassuring him about herself and letting him know that she is injured. She sustained minor injuries to her arm, but she couldn't stop it, so she felt reassured. Then he left the hospital and they both took a taxi. After a while, they arrived at a station. The train is literally very, very crowded. So the important thing is that Sam is talking to her father on the phone. She reassured him about herself, but Andrew went and booked 2 tickets to Qatar for him, and Sam later returned to her again. He asked her to finish her phone quickly because the train came, so Sam told him, "My father wants to talk to you." Vandro refused and wanted to leave, but I put it on and gave him the phone in good health. So her father kept telling Landro that this was my only daughter and I had to promise me that you will return her home safely. Vandro, and he sat like this and closed the road all the time. He and Samo ran and got on the train, and the train moved with them. After a while, Sam fell asleep from exhaustion. Andrew took out his camera and started filming anything strange that came to his face. Pictures of warplanes, rockets are thrown at a place where there are monsters and many strange things, such as, so in general, after a while, the world gets wet, so you know that the train will return to the station again. So she goes to know Andrew. So Andrew tells her that they will not come back again and will get off the train. And indeed, they both get off the train. They keep going like this until they reach the restaurant, and the owner of this restaurant takes them in and out. They have a map of a place, and then you tell them that they are 100 kilometers away from the American borders, almost in the railway, of course, because the train was destroyed, did not complete, and I also informed them that the army had imposed a ban here. The border has been closed for about 2 days because of the many creatures that have increased in this area. And she shocked them after that and told them if they did not walk from here, within 24 hours, the entire country will close and will not open until after 6 months. And it will be known after 6 months will open or not, and therefore they will remain imprisoned here. Of course, everyone will be shocked and forced to spend the 2 hours of this night in the restaurant here. because going out at night is of course very dangerous because of the many creatures. The next day they start walking and riding in a car like this so that it takes them to the bus station. After a while, they actually arrive at the bus station, get on the bus, and it moves with them and takes them after a while to Mina, because this is the only way they can get out and go to their country. Anyway, Andrew takes Sam and they go. The two are with the ticket employee, and he asks him about 2 tickets like this. So the employee tells him that there is nothing. The tickets are completely sold out and you might have to buy a ticket in the morning. Andrew gets very upset and then takes it. He noticed that there was a paper attached to it that said $5,000 for the ticket, so he was shocked and asked, of course, about this ticket. The employee knew that this was a very special ticket that was available and he could buy it. I mean, if he wanted to, Samat would be very upset by his words. What is its big price? $5,000, the employee told her. You are free. Wait until tomorrow. Vandro was forced to cut 2 tickets from his money. He pays $100,000 and only takes the 2 tickets and they go down. My friend, on that day, they checked the city market a little because they discovered that the ship was moving early tomorrow. So they had a little time to go around here and there. So they got off the market and they enjoyed their time a little before their trip. But at the end of the day, when Andrew finished, he takes Sam to her room, then leaves her and walks away. But he doesn't go to his room. No, he goes back to staying up late and keeps getting drunk and ruining the world. And he returns to his room completely late. And thus again, one day she goes to sleep, I named her. She comes to wake him up, dressed and ready for the trip. When she sees that he is still drunk and not dressed or ready, she gets very upset. She gets upset, takes some of them, and walks from Sukarandar. At that time, he is surprised and runs after her until he catches up with her before she boards the ship. At that time, he is poisoned. She told him that she did not know how to board the ship, and that was because he had their passport and tickets with him. Andrew then quickly returns to his room and starts searching like a madman for all these things. But he doesn't find anything. So he knows that he lost them yesterday when he was drunk. He got very angry and tried to fix his mistake. So he took poison and they left. The 2 of them remained with the second ticket employee, and at this time he begged him to give only 1 ticket to Sam, meaning at least the employee. He got very angry and told him it wouldn't work because everything was closed and the army was in the place. Andrew got angry. He started shouting. So Sam asked the employee now if there was another land route or something other than sea. The employee told her that there was another way, but this way was very dangerous because it was full of many creatures. This is strange. And they both knew that this trip needed a lot of arrangements, such as a special car to transport them, as well as a small vehicle. An armed protection team to protect them all. In the midst of all this, shocked them and made them know the cost of this talk. It's all $10,000, so he can prepare these things for them. The problem here, my friend, is that they don't have this amount at all at the moment. Vandro, he tried to give him his camera in exchange for this amount, but the employee refused and told him that she would not get anything, so Sam was forced to do so. She intervened and gave the employee a ring. The straw was with her. And by the way, its price was much more expensive than an employee. He liked this deal and agreed immediately without thinking and immediately provided them with a car. But the car. Now she takes them and takes them to a specific government facility like this. And at this moment, the person who follows the ticket employee speaks to the official and informs her that under Wissam lost their passports. And not only that, he does not write on them and tell them that these countries' scientists are here to study strange creatures. And I knew the policeman Victor before I came here. I mean, everything is fine. Victor was on an idea comes and asks the official to let them all pass. So she agrees, of course, and so does Andrew and Sam. They get a permit so that they can pass through any checkpoint without any problems. Don't forget that they are just scientists, so they just ride. The car starts again, and after a while they move to a lake like this, and there is the person who was with them, who is the ticket employee. He rides them in a small vehicle and does not ride with them, but rather leaves them and walks after that. This vehicle moves with them in the lake. While she was moving, Sam sat talking to Andrew for a while. She asked him about his family and so on, and he told her that he had a son named Charlie will be 6 years old tomorrow. And Andrew also told her that there are many problems between him and his wife. This is the reason why Her Highness was always traveling and leaving. Upset, and in the midst of her anger, There is a problem with the boat's engine and it breaks down in the middle of the lake. The boat's driver starts to fix this, and outside he kept trying to fix it until the world was getting tired of them at that moment. So they came without warning. Everyone hears a sound coming from the water and a warplane coming out of the water in front of them. So of course everyone is shocked by this sight, and even more shocked. They are terrified when they find that a strange creature is holding this plane and diving into the water with it. You can say that, thank God, because after everything that happened, their luck will be good and the boat engine will be repaired. So without thinking, they will run away with it from this place immediately. In general, the vehicle, my friend, will continue to drive with them for a while. They are nice to anyone. The day doesn't start to come again. So Samdro wakes up and finds himself in a place full of destroyed boats and traces of blood. Every now and then, Samro gets very upset about this scene because they must have realized that many people died here, but after that, the boat stops with them, and whether he asks them to get off and continue on the road with his friends. Andre is nervous at the time because his friends or country's armed men in Souk reassured him and told him that they were following him and would not do anything now. He was reassured a little and went down. He is Wissam, and they walked with these gunmen and entered the forest, and they preferred, my friend, to walk for a nice period of time like this until the world became night for them again. So they did. It remained a small camp, and they lit a fire and preferred to sit as they were. So their lessons were virtuous, and they arrived the American city. One of the gunmen knew that they were very close and said to him, "We will leave when this second family comes, my friend." A family that they also agree with, so that they will receive, like Andrew Wissam, America. While all this talk remains, one of the people standing, he started to know that there was a creature living here in this area. So Sama was surprised and asked him how they felt safe while standing in a place like this, and knew that a big creature could come and kill them. So he said to her, "If you were in a high place, it would be impossible. It will reach you, even if you don't bother him at all. He won't come near you or bother you, because when the planes the American comes here, these creatures are very, very fanatical, and this is because planes throw chemicals at them. So they are forced to do so at that time they eat them." Andrew was surprised, to be honest, and asked him, "Why do these planes throw chemicals at them? And here in particular?" They shocked him now. They told him that because these creatures are literally spread on the trees of the forest where they are currently located, they became rare, my friend. From the shock, he didn't understand anything. And in order for one of them to understand, he took him to a tree with these creatures in it, and as soon as they reached it, why, these creatures are very small in size, a bit like mushrooms. And these creatures were interacting with their spotlight, meaning they were illuminating Sammy. I was surprised, and now I asked the person who brought them here, "What are these creatures doing here?" He knew that they were very small creatures and still are. That is, when they grow up, they go down to the lake, and from the lake to the ocean all the time. In the ocean, they multiply and then come back and add on the trees again, and so on and so on. But after they understand everything, they come back to the camp from the second time in this revelation. Andrew sits talking to Sam and checks on her hand, and he also apologizes to her because she did not know how to travel in the ship, is because of him and because of the passport and the tickets he lost. So she accepts his apology and tells him that she is not just upset. They all went to sleep, and at night, while they were sleeping, everything was perfect until suddenly they heard the sound of a creature screaming very close to them. Everyone wakes up and now finds 3 cars with strange people in front of them. The people riding in these cars shouted at them and asked them. They get into the cars quickly because the creature is coming here. So they see everyone and get in with them quickly. These cars move with them and they keep going like this until they reach a safe place. Which is not safe strong, this is because after they stopped the cars, the creature came to them again, pulled a car from them, lifted it into the air with ease, and then threw it away on the ground again in front of them. All of this happened in front of the car in which they were chatting. So of course they were very terrified and tired when the people who with them in the car, they left them, got out, took out their weapons, and started shooting at this creature. But it was not affected at all and killed them moments later. The creature began to move towards the remaining 2 cars, so they called intro and hid in terror, but in a way that the creature was not. He gets very close to their car and goes to the other car behind them, grabs it, destroys it, kills everyone in it, and then walks away. All this happened for a while. Andrew left the car when he was sure that the creature had left. And as soon as Andrew left, he saw a shocking sight. The car behind them was destroyed and hanging on a tree. So he was shocked and started calling anyone he is still alive, but he can't find anyone. Unfortunately, he finds all their clothes now, so he gets very upset. He wants to take gas masks from these bodies that they have with them, so that they can protect them from the chemicals that planes come with every now and then. Andrew continues exploring this area, and in the meantime he sees a sad sight because he saw the body of a little girl on the ground and touched all her family. And this is the family they were supposed to be. They cross the border with Andrew, and of course Andrew gets upset with this little girl and covers up after that. So Wissam saw the body again and literally collapsed from crying after she calmed down. They continued. Their path was the same, and they kept walking for long hours until they took care of a pyramid like this, an amphitheater in the middle of the forest. They both climbed this pyramid and literally did it on the advice of the person who was there with them when he told them that as long as you are in a high place, the creature will never reach you. So they climbed the pyramid and decided to camp up here tonight. And now they sit and talk to each other until the world gets completely wet and they both sleep. And the second day they get up and continue their way from Thani, and they prefer to walk for a while until they reach the American border. And as soon as they reach the checkpoint, they do not find anything. Literally anyone there sold it normally, both of them without any problems, and as soon as they passed by, they found the planes destroyed in the city with missiles. And they also take care of a sign that says that the evacuation route is after 9 miles from here. Sam Andrew continues walking as they are and enters the city now. They find all the houses are destroyed and abandoned, and there is nothing in them. It is ruined, my friend. Everywhere and in the world around them is destroyed. So they are afraid that it is better for the planes to have been shot down after they destroyed the place here chemicals. So they wear the masks they have and remain as they are walking. While they are walking, they find one of these creatures. Vandro's dead man films him with his camera. And suddenly they both hear a strange sound. So they get scared. They look at the source of the sound, and then they see an old woman walking and pushing a wheel. So Sam is reassured she called her, and this woman stood up without opening her mouth or saying a word. Sama approached her and asked her if anyone here was still alive. This woman turned out to be crazy and made a strange sound at her and walked away. Sakat Fazim was very upset with this woman because she literally went crazy because of everything that happened here and in total. Everyone continues walking towards the evacuation route, and after hours they are finally able to cover a distance of 6 miles, and they only have 3 left miles, but that's not our topic now. Because now the rarest Wissam has noticed that there is a gas station. It is working and its lights are working next to them. So they are happy, of course, and they run there. And as soon as they enter the gasoline, Andrew speaks. The emergency department knows exactly where they are and reassures them that they are not injured either. So the emergency department reassured him. I told him that they would send a rescue team to Benzina. And now I am asking Andrew and Sam to stay in Benzina until the rescue. Andrew reached them and told them, "Okay." He hung up the call and they sat talking to each other until the rescue arrived. When Andrew got a little tired of the conversation means with Sam, he smiles and goes out to talk to his son on the phone, greets him and tells him every year, "And you are good" on the occasion of his birthday. And he cries after that because he is not with him at this time, and he cannot hold back his tears when his son tells him that "you miss me." But of course he doesn't try to show this and reassure him, and they know that he is about to return home in 2 days, and he will be there and hang up the call and leave. Then he sleeps outside in the street in front of the gas station, and suddenly a storm hits the place, and the strange creature suddenly appears on top of the gas station. And not like that. Only a part of it enters the gasoline and starts to spin on poison or any human being in general. At that moment, she noticed the creature and got tired. She acted intelligently and calmly and started pulling herself one by one and pulled behind the cashier's desk. She stayed there until he got out of the gas station. Of course, all of this happened in front of Andrew's eyes, who was standing outside at the time watching. The giant creature is shocked and terrified and does not know how to move. The problem is not here. The problem is that there is another creature like him who appeared, and they both preferred. They yell at each other, and at the same time they touch each other in a strange way. Maybe this is their way of communicating or something like that. They prefer to remain as they continue in this situation. after which they settle each other and each one of them walks on the other hand. But after what happened, the rescue team finally arrives and takes Andrew Wissam, and they leave this whole place, and Andrew and Wissam's story ends, and we know that it's over. Thank God they were saved. But is the world back to normal and everything is fine? Unfortunately. My friend, this is just the story of Andre and Sam. It's over, but the world is still destroyed. After a while, he became my best friend. After the creatures spread throughout the world, we now see a person named Mike standing and shooting at the drawings of monster creatures. On the wall in front of him, he is hitting them, and he is very upset. And this is because he will go to the army. And by the way, he will go to the army because after a long period of dialogue between Andrew and Sam, creatures invaded the whole world and destroyed it in an unnatural way. All human beings no longer have a solution except that you either join the army and fight with them against monsters, or you work exactly like a winch, removing debris, transporting it, and trying to clean the city as much as possible. Of course, Mike did not want to do that, so he decided to join the army. It is better, my friend, and there is also a problem, which is that the army is fighting. These creatures started throwing rockets at them, and thus the cities were destroyed more and more and more, and this had caused a bigger problem, which was the emergence of a group of rebels who wanted to kill the army because it destroyed their homes and their entire lives. Now the army has two missions. The first is to eliminate these creatures, and the second is to eliminate them rebels. But now we see an army commander named Freiter holding his sniper rifle and aiming with it. He kills an important leader in his rebel group, runs away from the place he is in, and gets into a car that was waiting underneath, by the way. This Freiter and most of the American army are in a completely different country and are now destroying it under the pretext of killing creatures. We also see a number of these creatures dead because of their missiles, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I saw after he finished his mission and was killed. The leader of the rebel group returned to the camp and started taking a shower and resting a little in these buildings. In America, Mike was going to the hospital for his friend Shawnee because Shawnee's wife gave birth to Shawnee when he saw him. He gave him his son to carry him for a while, and now he is talking to the rest of his friends. After that, Shawnee's wife gets a little upset and sad because Shawnee, he's the second one and he's going to the army. So Shawnee reassures her and lets her know that he will finish his service quickly. The army will return. So she is reassured by his words and calms down. In general, after a while, Mike and Bay will leave. They watch a battle like this in the city, and the surprise is that this battle takes place between a dog and a small creature. They both keep fighting each other until the creature gets very angry and attacks the dog with its claws, wounding the dog and killing it. The dog's owner went crazy and shot the creature dead in a scene that was very shocking to everyone in general. The second day, Mike and his friends, Anks, Shawnee, and Frankie, are transported on special planes. These planes take them to Commander Freiter's camp, and while they are on the planes, they see a group of very giant creatures. Mike is literally shocked when he sees them, and even more shocked when their planes fly and pass over these creatures suddenly without a single introduction. One of these creatures tried to shoot down the plane they were on, but a veteran got out of the plane and ran away from him. They returned safely and arrived after a while. Finally, the camp. As soon as they arrived, Commander Freiter came out to speak. He was with them for a while and started to introduce himself to them. He introduced them to Sergeant Forrest and told them, "You are in the I area, and you are not here on vacation. This will be your normal life from now on. Then leave, then leave." Then Sergeant Forrest came and continued talking. He told them that there are a group of monsters around the area here, and we are destroying these monsters. And because of that, there is damage happening to the facilities around them. The rebels are getting angry about this, and we don't want to do this. In the end, we are dealing with explosive devices and mines rebels. In addition to monsters, first, when they make us a monster, we kill it. But our main goal is that we eliminate the rebels because they remain an obstacle in front of us while we kill these monsters. And he finishes his words and becomes a little enthusiastic after that. Everyone goes out to train a little together. And literally the training is physical and violent, 2 or 3 times 4 in general, meaning that when everyone finished training, they left the camp and went down to the city on their first patrol. As soon as they arrived, the city remained. They got out of their cars and started going around the streets. each one wanting to take a few pieces of garbage on the backs of the poor people here. They began to imagine with them a garbage movement from this dirty state movement. But the important thing is that they didn't finish and took pictures. They took each other and continued on their way in the desert until they reached a place like this and hit everyone. As soon as they saw a group of people were transporting barrels of water like this somewhere in the middle of the desert. So Forrest was surprised at the time and began to get nervous. And Freiter later learned that they were supposed to. They blew up these water barrels yesterday, and he thinks they should back down now. It's better, Freiter, he said to him. No, we will stay because these barrels may very normally contain explosive devices, so we will stay here and monitor. And indeed, they stayed in the same place here as them until the world became dark for them at that moment. So Freiter took some soldiers and they started storming a place. Forrest was watching the situation from afar. And while he was watching, he saw 3 giant creatures approaching them. So of course he alerted Freiter. He started to get nervous and he and the rest entered the place. But as soon as he entered, a guard dog saw them and started to moan. He was angry with them. So the owner of the place heard the sound and came. He was shocked when he saw Reiter and the soldiers. He started fighting with them and asked them to leave. From here, the soldiers and Freiter raised their weapons on him and had one of their soldiers go and search this man to reassure them that he was not wearing his uniform. He blew them up or saved them. And indeed, the soldier went to search for what he had and did not find anything with him. So everyone reassured him after that. The man, my friend, had a fight with them, and he told them that he was just a poor farmer and that this was his farm and that he lived here alone after losing his wife and his children. After their bombs killed all his cows, Freiter apologized to him and asked him if there were any rebels around him. This area. But of course the man went crazy and kept screaming because he thought they wanted to get him out of his farm in good health. But he didn't. I understand that Fadl kept screaming and yelling at them loudly. So Freiter went crazy and asked him to keep quiet so that the monsters nearby here wouldn't hear the sound. But he refused to keep quiet, and thus a monster arrived at the farm. However, the man did not keep quiet. So Mike gave him the back of the weapon until he fainted completely. So Freiter and all the soldiers stood with their weapons and started aiming and shooting at the giant monster that came to them, and they beat him until they killed him in the end. At the same time, Forrest had informed the camp of the remaining monsters. So the camp added to them. A missile kills them both in Freiter, after which he returns with the rest of the soldiers to the camp. And then Freiter is very fanatical about them. And this is because none of them were even aware from the beginning of the man who was on the farm. After that, he told them, I won't die here because of you. I have a daughter waiting for me at home, and this time it went well. Next time it might be very normal for him to be a man. He booby-trapped us and caused us a big disaster. He left him and walked away, bursting with anger as soon as Freiter entered. From inside the camp, he called his wife and asked her about his daughter. She made him very upset and told him that her academic level had become very bad and that she was suffering because of nightmares and she could no longer sleep. This made Freiter very upset and asked her to let her go. She spoke to him, but she refused because she could not believe it. She slept well, so Freiter asked her to approach the phone for her while she is sleeping, just to hear her own voice. And she actually does that, and as for Freiter, he hears her own voice collapsing from crying. And this is, my friend, because Freiter has not returned to his wife and daughter for many years. So he is very lonely in general. My friend has been in this for about 4 months now. And now we see Mike and the father in the camp as they are. And during these months, they have done almost 42 patrols, and they killed only one monster, the one from the farm. And today they are supposed to have a new mission. And now Freiter brings them together and tells them the details of the mission and lets them know that they have lost part of their forces are in the Tyre desert area. So the mission means that they go around on these forces and get them out of there. And he is also now showing them pictures of the soldiers of these forces and after. So everyone moves in 2 cars, and while they are walking, they meet a group of monsters on the road, but their appearance is strange and their size is small like horses. Exactly. There is a monster among them who approaches the car that has Shawnee in it and keeps running next to them. So Shawnee and Sergeant Forrest keep looking at him. They don't notice the road and they hit another monster and kill it. So they are very happy. Unfortunately, this joy is not complete because their car steps on a mine and explodes. All of this happens in front of Mike and Freiter's eyes. They get out quickly and try to check on everyone in the car. and at that moment they see Shawnee leaving the car completely paralyzed. He was bleeding. So Shawnee tried to go to them while he was stepping on another mine and exploding in it in a shocking scene for all the friends at the time, who were going crazy and preferred they scream. And in these moments they find gunfire coming down on them from everywhere, so they quickly get out of the car. And then a fighter covers them and shoots fire on the rebels hiding behind the rocks, killing one of them. And Angst takes advantage of this opportunity. He goes to pull Shawnee and tries to save him. But this is almost impossible at all. And this is because half-a-body Shawnee is no longer there at all, except that the rebels hit them with an RPG missile. But it did not come to them and came in Arabic. So they stayed now, they shoot each other, and in the meantime, DeFreider is able to reach the second car and tries to save Forrest. But he gets very upset and shocked when he finds Forrest and everyone in the car dead. So he is forced to control his sadness and quickly return to the rest and start talking to Mike. And they know that in a building here and behind, they can hide there until help comes to them. And he asks him to take Shawnee, remove him, and go with him. Wanks is in this building, and they are going to cover for them. Mike actually carries out the order and carries Shawnee on his shoulder and runs with him and Wanks towards the building. After that, they enter this building, and at the same time, Freider and those with him were still clashing with the rebels and kept shooting at them until they are not hit by a second RPG cannon. So they run away and quickly enter the building behind Mike. And Freider is always communicating with the camp, asks for help. The campers know that a drone will reach them in 5 minutes, and they lock up with him at that time. He asks, a soldier is upset about his condition, Shawnee, and Fanks responds to him while he is already collapsed and knows that he does not know how to arrive for his vein. Freider tried to calm him down and asked him to calm down and try to rest. So Phoenix stayed next to him like this, and they looked for his vein so that I could give him the injection, and they would stop the bleeding in the meantime. Their friend, Soldier Frankie, came from outside, and as soon as he saw Shawnee, he was shocked, and shocked a lot. He literally couldn't move to the point that he was going to die from a rebel who suddenly appeared behind him. But the leader saved him, shouted at him, and asked him to focus far away. A little while later, he started standing up at the same moment. Angst was now doing a heart refreshment for Shawnee. He is currently dying from crying, but unfortunately he cannot catch up with him, and his daughter-in-law dies. Then he will continue. He cries and trembles violently from sadness and shock for his friend. And literally everyone present gets very upset. After that, the camp contacts Freider, and they know that the plane will arrive in a minute, and they know the rest of her place. So Freider quickly asks the soldiers to prepare to leave from here. But then Inks wants to, he takes Shawnee with them so that they can bury him properly. But the leader shouts at him and tells him that you will die too if you take him with us, and they convince him of his well-being. It means he moves, and they move one after the other. Finally, they are able to escape from the place, and they keep running for a while until they reach it. To another building, and they sit and rest there today until the plane arrives at that time. By the way, everything was perfect, which is not okay. Suddenly, the rebels arrived and killed Angst with a bullet to the middle of his brain, and they also shot Frankie in the stomach. So Commander Freider, he was forced to save his and Mike's lives and surrender himself from silence. As the rebels came and arrested him, everyone raised their weapons and took them all in their car and left. By the way, they took Frank with them because he was still alive. They all move in Arabic with their faces covered. And indeed, after a while, they reach the rebel hideout, where they connect Mike, and Freider Frankie is in a chair in a room there. Then they remove their cover from their faces and leave. Mike looks at Frank while he is tied up in front of him, and he comes to his senses because of the bullet he took in his stomach. Of course, Mike is crying really hard. Frankie is also crying the second time. But Freider, in the middle of all of this, is aware that his glass window is broken, and there is glass like that. He is at the window, and an idea comes to him. We will see it in a little while, but currently Mike is screaming loudly and asking Frank to bear it. A little while later, Frank apologizes to him, smiles at him, and dies. Mike goes crazy, and because of his extreme madness, he withdraws. He was in the chair and trying to get close to Frankie, but the chair fell on him and he fainted from exhaustion. At the same time, Fritter was literally collapsing the second one, but he controls himself as much as he can and stays in this position for long hours. To some extent, the world is getting wet, and suddenly they find the whole place shaking because there is a huge monster. Outside, he came to the building, and the rebels were watching their cars and running away, and then they sent one of them to the room It has a freezer and a microphone. So he takes them apart and takes them with him. Wow. When he enters the room, he takes the freezer leg off the chair and then leaves it. He stands up and hits him in the face with his palm. So Frighter gets angry, hits him, makes him fall to the ground, and goes down on top of him with the man like a madman. After that, he cuts the rope with which he tied his hand to the window glass that I told you was broken. And the important thing is that he loosens himself and takes the weapon from the rebel, who hit him, then goes to remove another microphone and informs him that there is a motorcycle outside and tells him to meet me outside, and he leaves him and goes out so that he can say goodbye to Frankie. So Mike gets up, and the first thing he does is go and untie Frankie and hug him while he cries and says goodbye, and goes out inside the second room. The lesson was that when he went out to get an iron stick thrown on the ground, he took it and continued on his way. While he was walking, he entered a room like this and broke up. There was one of the rebels in it. So without thinking, Mike went crazy and hit him with the iron stick, causing him to fall to the ground, get down with the stick, and keep hitting him. He was so strong that he killed him and got out of all his nervousness. Then he left this building as the second, and at that moment he found the giant monster breaking in a tower like this, the electrician. Mike keeps crying and screaming like a madman. But in general, they can escape. They are both on motorcycles, and they keep driving them until the next morning. And at that moment, Mike literally collapsed, and suddenly got out of his motorcycle, fell to the ground. So Frighter got out after him and tried to calm him down, and they were reassured that they were done, stay away from any danger at all. He told him, "You and I must complete the mission and save our soldiers, our friends, because we will not lose anyone else." Mike was convinced. With his words, this is not the case at all. They both got on their motorcycles and continued on their way and continued walking for long hours until their fuel ran out. So they went down and continued walking, and they continued walking as they were until they reached an old place, where they camped for a while. After that, they sat talking to each other. And at that time, Mike knew Ryder that he was an orphan and had never been there. He saw his father and lived his whole life with his friends, all of whom died. This means that his family is considered dead. Frighter was very upset, and they knew that he had also not returned home for many years. He told him that the last time he saw his daughter was afraid of him because she no longer remembered him at all and did not know who he was. And yet Frighter did not want him to leave the army and continued in order to get rid of these monsters. In the end, he protects his daughter when she is 1 year old. The next day, they all returned and continued walking in the desert. And during that time, while they were walking, he found a little boy who had exploded because of a mine. They both ran onto the bus, and at that moment, Mike noticed that there was a child on it. The bus and this child still had a soul. The child failed and got off the bus, and Frighter knew that he was still alive. Frighter told him to either leave him and go or help him continue on his way. But Mike refused to let him go, so Frighter got closer to this child. When the child approaches him, he holds his hand, and Frighter cries loudly and tries to strangle him, kill him and save him because of his suffering. Because they will not be able to save him while they are here in the middle of the desert. What is happening, my friend? Mike did not like it all, and he pushed him away and carried him away, the child, in order to stay away completely. And then they now find 3 people entering them with their horses. So Frighter is afraid and raises they have weapons. But Mike stands up now and tells them that this child is dying. So one of these 3 girls gets off the horse. It belongs to her, and she takes the child from him, and she is very afraid and upset for the child because he is close to her. By the way, she and these 2 other people. But after all that, this happened. They take a microphone to their village, and not only that, but they also treat them very well because they saved the child who is their boat, and Mike are now joking with the kids over there. After that, they are eating, and they are both like crazy because they are very hungry. After they finished eating, the world became wet for them, and at that time Mike saw the girl who came and took the child from him going to the desert. So now he is gone. He followed her and kept walking behind her until he reached the bus. There, Mike had a scene that made me sad. He saw the children who died on the bus while they were in their shrouds, and all their mothers came and took them one after the other and found them standing. A very huge monster came to them and now put a second monster smaller than him. After that, he did something to it and it came out from this little monster. This is a strange light, so what happened shocked Mike very much. and a girl asked what this was. It happened exactly in front of him, and a girl told him that these lights that spread everywhere were a house little for these monsters. Mike was very shocked and no longer knew how to respond from the shock, because this meant that the monsters were spreading in an abnormal way and they would not know. They stopped this spread. Hours later, Mike returned to the village again, and Fraterz saw him. As soon as he saw him, he hit him and made him fall to the ground. So he left him and went out without his permission, and told him after that that there were 4 soldiers who had to return home, and that this was your mission. Is the only one like this understanding or not? They were dragged after that and entered the tent in which the child they had saved was. He then said to him, "You are not a hero. Something because the child you were trying to save died. So you don't feel like you accomplished something and saved someone who carried out your mission while you were silent." Mike was very bored at the time. He kept crying, so Fraterz left him and went out of the tent. Mike kept crying over this child at that time, to the point that the child's father came and started to calm him down himself. In general, Mike calmed down a bit and moved away from me. He and the Frieders keep walking, and after a while they finally reach a semi-abandoned village, so they start searching for some nice things like this so that they can find anyone. And in the meantime, they both saw some children with a rifle. The army man, Fraterz, went crazy and went to this child and grabbed him like a madman. They asked where he got this gun from, and the child was terrified and took them both, and they reached the place where he took this gun. At that moment, Fraterz was shocked, the shock of his life. Because he has 4 bodies, he quickly went to see them, terrified and afraid that they might be soldiers. Unfortunately, his feelings are getting out of place and the soldiers are getting out. He and Mike can't control his tears, but Fraterz gets some of the severity of his shock. He runs like a madman to the first house he meets, and when he enters this house, he raises his weapon at the father in the house and asks him who is the one. The killer of the soldiers outside, and the father is of course terrified and does not understand anything. And the son of the second father will also die of terror, especially when Fraterz Fadl shouts and tells them what I am doing here, why these soldiers died, and why I am not at home with my daughter, whom I no longer know what exactly is happening. And he is very crazy and raises his weapon at the little boy. And in a shocking scene, the father is killed in front of his son, which is not possible. He also raised his weapon at Fraterz and told him to lower his weapon. But Fraterz refused, and Mike, in order to protect this family from Fraterz, shot him in the side. He made this family run away from home at that moment. Fraterz kept screaming while holding his head and left. He left the house crying and unable to walk because of the bleeding. But he endured it and kept walking to someone. He doesn't reach a hill like that. And there he sees a group of huge monsters and knows that the world is his age. He will not get rid of these monsters. And in the end they will destroy the whole place and all the people will die. And then Mike will die. At that time he was with him, and at that moment he saw these monsters as the second, but of course he didn't do anything. Instead, he got on the plane that came to him from the camp and kept screaming at the second and finishing my friend. Here's the movie, and unfortunately, it has a tragic ending. Because not only have we seen a number of people die because of the monsters, we even knew that the world would end forever and there was no way we could stop. These monsters are spreading in an abnormal way, and this movie duo is ending. Which means I hope you liked it, even though I know that there are many things in it that are not very complete. But I mean, it was a nice story, and that's it.